All right, so for today, I've already kind of started saying this to some of you, but I'm going to go over again. I emailed the quiz 4 yesterday, so if you have the capability and wanted to print it out, because to me it's easier to have physical paper, or but if you don't have that capability, at least you can see the full picture of it instead of trying to see it through the camera here. And then I said that to you, but I told you we were going over it today. I've got an example for each problem. The quiz had 4 questions. Okay, quiz was only 4 questions long. Yay, easy quiz, 4 questions. So I sent that yesterday. It says quiz 4, section 7 up at the top because it's section 8.7. I'm going over an example for each problem. Then I'm going to kind of go over a little review of quiz 2 and 3 again for some of you who are still struggling on finishing quiz 2 and 3. And then if you're good, then you can go ahead and log off and finish your quizzes. If you need extra help or still have more questions about the quizzes, then we'll stay on and we'll talk about it, okay? And that's what we're going to try to do today. So I've got these problems up here that go with quiz 4. Okay, quiz 4 dealt with our equations of the circles on the coordinate plane. So they called it, I think it was called coordinate geometry of circles is the name of the section. So what we're going to do is go through these. And like I said, I've got up here, this is like number 1. This one says it's like number 4. I just had to fit it over here because it was actually a shorter one because board space. Then this one's like number 2, this one's like number 3. And they're all labeled. So I would suggest writing them down though, so you have them. So you can actually look at the examples. So if it takes you a little bit longer doing the quiz or whatever, you'll still have it because we're not going to just stay on the meeting forever. Okay. Now, before we get going, I'm going to tell everyone what we were told in our meeting yesterday. Okay, from Mr. Wyndham, because he's been trying to log into some of the Zoom meetings and make sure kids are there and participating and stuff. Miss Aiken has been logging into a lot of them. I know y'all have probably seen her pop up several times. Okay, if they can't see you, then same thing like I've been telling you, I need to be able to see you. Okay, so if you're hiding where you can just barely see your shirt over on the side because you didn't put on any makeup or brush your hair, whatever, then I'm sorry, get over it. You're going to be seen, so you need to get where you can be seen. We should not just see your wall or your ceiling, okay, or a picture of your dog, Pedro, okay? We should be able to see you, and they want to be able to see you. And we were told if we can't see you and we ask you to show the camera and you still don't do it, then we can just kick you out of the class. We'll kick you out of the meeting. You won't get the points for that day. Because remember, you're getting points for logging in when you're supposed to log in. So being on time. Javier, I don't need that close. Okay. You get points for being logged in on time and being there doing what you're supposed to do. Okay? So, wanted to get that out of the way before we get started. Is everybody good with that? You know what's going on? I should be able to see you. Okay.
I'm going to leave right now, miss.
Huh? Yeah, well, I see you.
I'm going to leave. I'm going to
Why?
turn off the camera.
Why are you leaving?
Because I'm going to go eat.
No, lunch is at 12. You have from 11:45 to 12 for lunch. This is not lunchtime. This is class time. Okay? You need this for your quiz. So on quiz 4, for number 1, I have up here, it says graph the circle with this equation, x minus 3 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 9. So this is very similar to the number 1 on your quiz. Okay? Now, on your quiz, I even wrote at the very top of the quiz your equation for the circle formula. Okay, your equation for the circle says x minus h, this is my h, that marker doesn't work, x minus h and y minus k. So that's my h and my k. Remember, your h and your k are what give you the center of your circle. So my H is 3. My K, since this has a +1, but if you look at your quiz, your original formula always has a minus. So for this to become a plus, that had to have been a -1. So that is the center of my circle. And then your radius is the square root of this number. Okay? So if I've got 9, the square root of 9 is 3. Okay? The square root of 9 is 3, so my radius is 3. So now we're ready to graph it. So when you go to graph it, your center is 3, -1. Okay? So I go 1, 2, 3 over, and then 1 down. That's the center of my circle. So you plot the center of your circle first. After you plot the center of your circle, you use the radius. Your radius tells you how far you go from the center to points that are on the circle. So you go in every direction. You're going to go 3 units up. 1, 2, 3, put a point. 3 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, put a point. 3 units down. 1, 2, 3, put a point. And 3 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, put a point. Oh, I went up too far. I went with my, I was like, that doesn't look right. This is supposed to be right here. Okay, so these points are points on the circle, and then you try to halfway sketch your circle. Okay, so this is something that's definitely going to be where I need to at least see your center and your radius, but if you can actually sketch the graph on the quiz, if you're able to print it out and then just send me the picture of it back, then that would be really helpful. You know, you can email this to me through My School Works. Some of you I know use your Google Docs for your FLVS. You can still send it to me that way through My School Works, and then I can get it transferred over and click on it that way too. So however you got to send it to me. But that's what you do on number 1 on the quiz. Okay, there's not a lot of work to it. You identify your H and K from the equation. You find out your radius from the equation. We found that by taking the square root of 9. That's how I got the radius. Okay, and then we plot the center, go each direction. All right, now this next one's like number 4, and I went ahead and put it here because it's just going backwards, kind of what we just did. Okay, it gives you the center and the radius, and it's wanting you to plug it into the equation. So again, on your quiz up at the top, I gave you the equation formula. Your equation formula is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. That's your formula. I'm going to scoot y'all a little bit closer over here. Okay? All right. The window's glaring a little bit, but we'll work around it. There we go. Okay? So, right here. When we go to do this, this is my h, remember? This is my k. So I'll have x minus 5, parentheses squared, plus y, and it's minus in the formula, but it's minus a negative. So minus a negative makes it a positive 3. And then my radius squared, 12 squared is 144. So your answer is simply that. You just plug in your h, plug in your k, square the radius, you've got the equation. So that's number 4 on the quiz. Okay, number 1 and number 4 were the 2 shortest problems. 2 and 3 are a little bit longer. Okay, so I'm gonna try maybe, did everybody get 1 and 4 down?
I'm still working on 4.
But I want to make sure that you all get these examples so you have them to follow for when you are working on the quiz. Okay. Push the air down. Just one. You should be cool. Thank you. Okay, everybody good with 1 and 4?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so now we're gonna roll over. We're gonna do number 2 and number 3. Okay, for number 2 and number 3, it says on number 2, we're gonna write the equation for the circle centered at 3, -2. So it sounded similar to what we did on number 4, but the problem is we don't know the radius yet because it says that it goes through 0.41. So it gives you a point on the circle and the center of the circle. So even on your quiz out to the side, I put find R first using our distance formula, or distance between our 2 points. Okay, I wrote this on the quiz for you. You have to find the R, the length of the radius first. So to find the R, the length of the radius first, we have to label our points, our x1, y1, x2, y2, and plug them into the formula. Okay? So I'm going to use this as my x1 and y1, and this is my x2 and y2. And the reason I label my x1, y1, x2, and y2 is so I can put them into the formula correctly. I get as close as I can where everybody can see, and they can see, I can't see. All right, so I'm plugging in to find my radius. Big square root. Okay, and my first parentheses is my second x minus my first x. My second x was 4, the point on the circle. My first x was 3 at the center. So I have 4 minus 3 in the first parentheses. And my second parentheses, the formula says y2 minus y1. My second y was the y that was in the point on the circle, 1. My first y was my coordinate of my center, which was -2. So I have 1 minus -2 in the second parentheses. Now we're ready to finish simplifying that and solving it so we have our radius of our circle. So 4 minus 3 is 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Plus 1 minus -2. If I have minus a negative, hopefully you all know by now that changes to plus a positive. So that actually is like 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 squared means 3 times 3, which is 9. So I have square root of 10. Can I actually take the square root of 10?
No.
Well, I mean, I can, but it's going to be a decimal. We don't want a decimal in here. We're not going to do that. So we're going to leave it as square root of 10, okay? Because otherwise it's a irrational number, a decimal that goes forever. You don't want that in your problem. So we leave it as 10. So now I have my center of my circle. Remember, the center of your circle is your H and your K. And my radius is R. So I have my center, which was 3, -2. That's my H, that's my K. And I have my radius that we just found was square root of 10. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to plug these in to the formula just like I did on the example for number 4. Okay, so from here, it's like what we just did on number 4. You're going to have x minus 3 squared plus y minus -2. What's minus a negative make it?
Positive.
Squared. Because all I'm doing is I'm plugging it in. X minus 3, this was y minus -2, so it made it +2. And then for this part, it's radius squared. So I have the square root of 10 squared. What happens when you square a square root?
Out.
Isn't squaring and square rooting inverse operations? They're opposites of each other.
Yeah.
They cancel each other out. So square root of 10 squared, square root of 10 times square root of 10 would be square root of 100, which is just 10. Or this part cancels out and I get 10. So that's your equation. So that's like what you're going to do on number 2 on the quiz. You're going to start using your center and point P as your x1, y1, and x2, y2, and plug them into my distance formula to find the length of my radius. So I did that first and found my radius. Then I used my center and my radius, and I plugged them in. But after I did that, after I found my radius, I took these, and all I did was plug them in to get my equation. So that's number 2 on your quiz. Okay? We okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Number 3. Number 3 is the hardest one. That's why I did it last. So when you go to start on your quiz, I would probably start with number 3 because it would be closest since we had done that one because it's the hardest one. Okay. It says state the center and the radius for the circle. And it gives you this equation. Now you'll notice on your quiz out at the end of the problem, I wrote by completing the square. That's how we're going to solve this problem, by completing the square. So to complete the square, you group the x's together and you group the y's together. So I got to rewrite my equation first. I'm just reorganizing. So the x's need to go together. So I'm going to have x squared plus 48x. And then I'll put my y's, plus y squared minus 30y equals negative 765. I just got my 2 y terms together. Let's go this way, and that gets the glare off. All right. Okay. So I got my x's together, and I got my y's together. All right. Now, to complete the square, I'm going to group my x's together now and complete the square, get a perfect square trinomial for that part. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my y's. No problem. Okay, it goes all the way across the board. Okay, so we're completing the squares for the x part and for the y part. The way we complete the square is you take half of the linear term. So to take half of something, you divide it by 2. So 48 divided by 2 is 24. And then remember, it's called completing the square. So I'm going to square that. So 24 squared is going to go in that blank. And then I also have to add it over here. Because whatever I add on one side of the equation, I got to add on the other. Okay? So if you've got a calculator, it's going to come in handy. Because I'm taking 24 times 24. And we add that to both sides, 576. Okay. Now I got to do the same thing for the y's. I got to complete the square. So I take 30 and take half of that. 30 divided by 2 is 15. And then I square 15 and add it on both sides of the equation. So 15 squared is what?
225.
225.
25. So
225.
okay. 225. Okay. Y'all have to keep saying it, so I'll say it. You add it to both sides of the equation. Okay. Now the reason that we complete the square is so this stuff that's in parentheses is a perfect square trinomial. This is stuff back from like Algebra 1. Okay. It's a perfect square trinomial. When we factor a perfect square trinomial, we get a binomial squared. If you notice, that's what we have in our circle equation. You have a binomial squared for the x's plus a binomial squared for the y's is equal to the radius squared. So that's what we're doing on this here. Okay, so for this, have parentheses squared. X times x is x squared, and then this was 24 times 24, and then the sign was a plus, so it's a plus sign in the parentheses. So this factors to x plus 24 squared. I gotta do the same thing for the y's. For y squared, I know that's y times y. For 225, that was 15 squared. The sign was a minus, so it's y minus 15 for that one. Okay, so I have my first part for my x's, I have for my y's, and then over here on the right-hand side, I just need to finish simplifying that by adding all those together. You just got to be careful when you're adding them together because this was a negative number on the first one. The number they gave us originally was a negative. So I have negative 765 plus 576 plus 225.
626.
No.
36.
36.
Whoa.
I warned you, you got to pay attention that this first number was a negative. Negative 765 plus 576 plus 225. So I end up with 36. So this is my equation. That's the answer. Okay. Okay. Now, we're not quite done yet because it also wanted you to state the what?
The center.
The center and the radius. So remember, your center is the h and the k. So what is my h?
24.
Is it positive 24?
No.
It's going to be negative 24 because if you remember in our formula, it's always a minus sign. Okay, in our formula, it's always a minus sign. So if for this to be positive, that had to have been a negative. Now this is already a minus sign, so my k is 15.
10.
And then my radius is the square root of 36. So what times itself equals 36?
6.
6, so your radius is 6. So that's what you do on number 3. So like I said, that one's the longest. So when I go to work on my quiz, I would probably do that one first because I know that one's the longest, the most complicated. Okay? So we need to make sure that you have all of the examples down for number 2 and number 3. Okay, we made sure you have 1 and 4. We got to make sure you've got all of 2 and 3. So is anybody still working on writing those down? Yes, no.
I'm good.
I'm good too.
Everybody good? Everybody got them down?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So on the quiz that you were supposed to have already finished, which you know we won't talk about. But anyway, on the quiz that you were supposed to have already done, quiz 2 and quiz 3, I went through again and to summarize basically what you're doing on each problem. Okay, I'm trying to get where I can get it positioned where the glare is not over my writing. There we go. Good. All right, because I have like where it looks like those 2 eyeballs the way the lights are. But anyway, so for number 1, that's what you do. You do arc addition for the first one. You do 360 minus an arc to find the second one. And then for part C, it's a central angle. A central angle is equal to its arc. Okay, so what I've done is I went through and I summarized again what you're doing on there. If you didn't notice, if you can see on my little lines drawn up here, most of the problems dealt with inscribed angles. Inscribed angles are equal to half the arc. So you have to do that for 4A, 4B, 5A, 5C, 8A. You had to do that on a lot of them, okay? But what I would like for some of you to do is actually like write this down somewhere or look at your answers again for your quiz, looking at this and double check stuff and see, wait a minute, I didn't do anything with 360 on that problem. Maybe I need to go back and fix that. Okay, or I didn't take half of an arc, I multiplied. So kind of go back and double check your answers for those. Because a lot of you, I would suggest resubmitting your answers. Looking at these and then looking at your answers that you had, how you got them. Because most of you just sent me answers. I didn't see pictures of your work. So it's not like I could give you partial credit or anything. There wasn't any work for me to see. So look back through these again and double check what you did and see what you may need to do, okay? So I've got that up there. So if you get those down and you want to go and work on your quiz, then you're free to log off. If you want to wait so you can ask me a question, then you can do that. I've got my 2 quizzes here. So if you have a question on one in particular, you don't understand what I wrote here, how it pertains to the question, then I can help with that. Okay, so if you're done, then you'll be free to log off in just a minute. Otherwise, you need to work on getting this down. Now, what I'm doing, I told you we're reviewing, quizzing, reviewing, testing, right? Everybody get that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So sometime today, you probably will go ahead and receive a page or 2 of the test. But the part that I would send you today would be like the ones that are like the true false, or just, you know, how it's completing the blank for the theorem. You know, if 2 chords are congruent, then 2 whatevers have to be congruent, that type of stuff. So it would be those type of questions that I would send you on the ones today. So if you have your notes filled out for chapter 8, the part that I would send you today, you should have no trouble going ahead and starting. But otherwise, tomorrow we'll work on reviewing some more and talking about some stuff for problems on the test. Okay, because that's what we're doing all week. We're trying to get through it. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up here. If you need this, still get down. If you think you're good and you're ready to go work on your quiz, then you're free to log out and go work on your quizzes. And just make sure you send me answers, and I'll see you tomorrow at 11. But if you need to stay on and ask me stuff, that's fine too.
Ms. Pelham.
Yes.
On number 2, what is that that circle looking thing?
That is the angle or the arc measure.
Okay.
So
So how do you?
Number 2, the arc YZ is equal to 65 degrees, right?
Yeah.
So that's where you would put 65.
Oh, okay.
So you would put 65 over 360, and then 2 times pi times the radius, which was 6. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes,
And then you just simplify it. Hopefully, if you've got a calculator to use, then you should be able to do that one a little bit easier.
okay.
But your answers for those a lot of times do turn out to be a fraction. If you want to plug in 3.14 for pi and get a decimal answer, that's fine too. Just round to where you have 1 decimal place.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Whoever that was. Was that Javier?
Yeah, that was helping.
All right. But hopefully those help a little bit more. Because I know with the example pictures, you know, it was kind of hard. So this way, if I, you know, okay, I'm taking half of the arc, and then you can look at the example pictures that we did the other day, and maybe it'll help you match them up a little bit better for you to do your quiz. That's my goal anyway. Kaya, I know you had trouble getting logged in the other day, but did you still get the email that had the paper on it?
Yeah.
Okay, and I tried to send you the link to the recording too, I think.
All right, see you, Miss Bell.
Huh?
See you.
Bye. Go eat. I know that's all you're worried about.
No, I'm going to try to do my quiz right now.
Okay, that's good. Very good.
Oh, and I need the Gmail because it's not letting me to upload the picture on my schoolwork.
You can do it from your Gmail, and not in My School Works, but in your Gmail, but just still email it to me at CF, my middle name's Faye, cfpelham@harvestacademy.net, and it still should come to me.
Okay.
Even if you're not logged into My School Works, I'll still get it.
All right.
Okay?
Just in case, if you can send it to me on my schoolwork.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Miss Bell.
You're welcome. Monica, I graded your chemistry quiz. It was good.